Check. Is good? Good morning. Won't you rise and let's sing together the ceaseless flow of endless time. Once again, good morning and welcome to First Unitarian Church of Portland. We're especially grateful that you've chosen to spend some time with us here today, whether you're here in person or joining us online. And if you're joining us for the very first time, please join me over in the Welcome Circle, which isn't set up right now, but we'll get it put together. And love to meet you and welcome you further into the congregation. It's a quiet morning here today, but that doesn't mean we're not going to have social hour after the service, and that will take place in Fuller Hall, which is directly below us. And it seems like a really good time for us to greet our neighbors, so let's go ahead and do that right now.
I'll invite Jen to light our chalice this morning. We are Unitarian Universalists. We light this chalice in faith, in hope, and in love. Words for our call to worship this morning come from poet Ross Gay. If you find yourself half naked and barefoot in the frosty grass, hearing again the earth's great moan that says, "You are the air of the now and gone," that says all of you will turn to dust and will meet you there, do not raise your fist. Do not raise your small voice against it, and do not take cover. Instead, curl your toes into the grass, watch the cloud ascending from your lips, walk through the garden's dormant splendor, say only, "Thank you, thank you." Let's sing now our next hymn, We are not alone. Let's rise in body and in spirit. Responsive reading. It's by Kathleen McTeague, New Year's Day. The 1st of January is another day dawning, the sun rising as the sun always rises, the earth moving in its rhythms. With or without calendars, to name a certain day as the day of new beginning, separating the old from the new. So it is. Everything is the same, bound into its history as we ourselves are bound. Yet also we stand at a threshold, the new year, something truly new, still unformed, leaving a stunning power in our hands. What shall we do with this great gift of time this year? Let us begin by remembering that whatever justice, whatever peace and wholeness might bloom in our world this year, we are the hearts and the hands and minds, the hands and feet, the embodiment of all the best visions of our people. The new year can be new ground for the seeds of our dreams. Let us take this step forward together onto new ground, planting our dreams well, faithfully, and in joy. Let's sing now our doxology, Spirit of Life. It is our custom here at First Unitarian to share our offering each month with a community organization in concert with our own church mission. For December, we're sharing our plate with the American Civil Liberties Union of Oregon. The ACL works to protect and advance our civil liberties and civil rights for a more just, equitable, and caring democracy in Oregon. They build political power and meaningful partnership with impacted individuals and communities to disrupt and defend against oppressive systems. First Unitarian has partnered with the ACLU to promote and collect signatures for the Equal Rights for All 2026 ballot initiative and in educating our congregation on immigration law and policies here in Oregon. To give, you'll see a QR code on your screen and you can connect that way. Our ushers will come through the audience here if you're here live. And if you're online, you can connect through the QR code. Thank you for your generosity that sustains the mission of this congregation and with our partners in the larger community.
We make space each week to hold the joys, the sorrows, and the transitions of members and friends. You can send your milestones you wish to share aloud during the service via a new form at firstunitarianportland.org/pastoral care. Others are more private prayers, which you can share by lighting a candle in either one of our side galleries or by using that new same form. Your ministers and lay ministers receive them and they will pray for you throughout the week. And I think I didn't mention that you could write that intention also near those candles. We have 3 milestones and transitions to share this morning. The McKinney-Bach family shares the hard news that Dan's father, Edward Brock, known to his friends by Ed and his grandchildren as Pappy, died yesterday, December 27th in Colorado. Dan is there now, while the rest of the family is home in Portland, and they appreciate being able to share this grief with us all. An update on Julie Grice. Julie reports that she's made good progress in the hospital and plans to move to rehab this week and continue that progress. Julie said she had a good Christmas and is very grateful for the people from church who had visited, including some carolers. Killian Mustaine, grandson of member Barbara Morrison, married Shaylin Hockett on December 17th in Kenmare, Ireland. Killian had previously been a part of the RE program. Barbara and her partner, Dave Kovich, were able to attend the wedding, and we all wish the couple great happiness. If you join me in prayer. Spirit of the turning year, be with us now as the lights of our holidays dim and the ordinary days return. Hold close all those that grieve an empty chair, a missing voice, a change they did not choose. Soften the sharp edges of memory and let love be what lingers. For those who enter this new year with fear, uncertainty, or numbness, wrap them in a quiet courage, a strength that does not need to pretend to be strong. Hold too all those that are healing from illness, whose bodies and spirit are slowly remembering how to trust each new day. And bless those who come with joy as well, especially all who celebrate a marriage and a covenant of a shared life and love. And bless the spirit of Kwanzaa among us, its call to unity, self-determination, collective work, responsibility, and shared purpose. May these principles guide our hands and hearts as we build communities of justice and joy. Spirit of life, move us as hope that rises, as resilience that returns with every dawn. It's compassion that binds us to one another in our sorrow, in our healing, and let us know we are not alone. Let us unite our minds and hearts in the spirit of prayer and a reflective meditation. Our reading today is from Karen Boy. Yes, it hurts when buds burst. Why otherwise would spring hesitate? Why otherwise was all warmth and longing locked under pale and bitter ice? What fever for the new compels it to burst? Yes, it hurts when the buds burst. There's pain when something grows and when something must close. Yes, it hurts when the ice drops melt. Shivering, anxious, swollen, it hangs, gripping the twig, but beginning to slip its weight, tugs it downward through as it resists. It hurts to become uncertain, cowardly, dissolving, to feel the pull and the call of the depth, yet to hang and only shiver, to want to remain, keep firm, yet want to fail. Then, when at its worst and nothing helps, they burst as if in ecstasy, the first buds of the tree, when fear itself is compelled to let go. They fall in a glistening veil, all the drops from the twig, blinking away their fears of the new shutting out of their doubts about the journey, feeling for an instant how this is their greatest safety, to trust in that daring that shapes the world.
We are crossing thresholds all the time. We cross them when we arrived at church this morning. We cross them when we are at home and when we are away. And in a larger sense, we cross thresholds when we mark one chapter of life to another. And here we are on the cusp of a new year. That too is a particular kind of threshold. It's a natural time to take stock and see where we've been and where we're going. What meaning might there be in this season? The turning of the year is a time to ask some of those questions. When I was in first grade, I remember my teacher, Mrs. Hosking, telling us as we left for the holiday break that she would see all of us next year, that the year would turn while we were away. For me, that was a milestone lesson in the concept of time. Until then, I just hadn't thought about what the concept of a whole year meant. Every New Year, I think of that story. I'm not sure why it made such an impression on me now, many, many years ago. Apparently, it was a lesson that was a particular lesson that I needed to learn from my teacher that day. There is something about the turning of a new year, a time to turn a page, a time to shift focus to something new. That's the reason why some of us make resolutions this time of year. We want to take advantage of that momentum of a new year and make whatever change it is that we want to make. And some of us, it's not so easy. And there's a reason for that. We know that most of those resolutions we make in the new year, they often don't last very long at all. Often, just a few days into January, we may realize that indeed we're already back to that same old pattern that we're used to. Yes, we're back in our same old rut. Making change can be difficult to actually make. Now, having said all that, what we learn is that change is almost also inevitable in life. Sometimes change comes with the choices we want to make. Sometimes it seems to choose us. Something comes up that is not part of our plan. Sometimes it may not be welcome at all. It may be a loss we experience. It may be a transition we choose or one that we don't choose. But even when we choose it, there is still a transition to be made. Sometimes it may feel as if life picks us up from the scruff of the neck and says, it's time to change. The writer William Bridges is known for his work on change and transition, and he articulated some distinct stages of making a change and transition that we experience in life, whether we have chosen the change or it is something that we are adapting to. For Bridges, change begins with an ending. Something changes, something ends, and we find ourselves looking towards something new. But we don't necessarily get there to that new place right away. Between the ending and the new beginning is something called the neutral zone or transition phase. Sometimes it's called the desert phase. Now, Bridges would say that it is not necessarily the change that we avoid, but that transition period when we're someplace in between what has been and what is becoming. It's in that neutral zone that we find our assumptions challenged. It's in that place that we're not sure whether we are even on solid ground. What is certain may no longer be certain. In that neutral place, we find ourselves trying to figure that out. Now think of the story we tell each year at Passover. When Moses and his people were given freedom by the Pharaoh after all of those plagues, they were told that they had to leave immediately. And all of a sudden, they found themselves there in the desert. Even though they were in captivity, they at least knew what to expect with captivity. But then all of a sudden, they're in the desert, and they could no longer count on some of those very things that they counted on. Life all of a sudden was full of uncertainty. All of a sudden, captivity may not look so bad. Now, most of the time, we eventually get to that new place, that place of freedom. But in the case of Moses and his people, that freedom only came after all of those wandering together in the desert. It took some time trying to figure it all out. All of a sudden, Moses found his leadership being questioned. Why did we want to be free after all? Now, they eventually get there, but it comes with time. No, change is not always an easy path. And what about each of us? How have you managed times of transition in your own life? Does it come easily for you? Is change difficult? We all come to have our particular ways of dealing. I think I know some who seem to thrive in the midst of transition, some who welcome change, they're eager for it. Some of us, on the other hand, will resist it at every single step. Think about how you've dealt with times of transition in your own life. A new job, entering some new chapter, maybe moving to a new place, a time when we've been faced with the loss of a loved one or some other kind of loss. Sometimes that image of the threshold might be helpful. Think of it as a kind of liminal space when things are up in the air. It's in that place where some of our assumptions might get challenged. It's in that place where we may find ourselves with some new learning. But it may also be a very uncomfortable place, especially when it may last for longer than we may want. We may learn that life doesn't always work on our chosen timeline. Let me say a little bit more about this concept of liminal space and how there are different ways that we can look and understand time. The Greeks had two different words for time. The first, chronos, describes how we usually think of time. This is a linear time, as if along a ruler marking the minutes, the hours, the days, the weeks, the months, even the years. In our lives, we mark year after year and the events that fit along that continuum. One day comes into another day that comes into yet another day. Everything is linear. And then there's another kind of time that we might call kairos. That has been called sacred time or time out of time. And this might be better describe those liminal moments, those threshold moments, and the way that time doesn't always seem to be so linear. It perhaps is more circular for us. It may be time that comes with things being up in the air, and can feel chaotic. But it may also be when we're most aware then of our connection with something larger. They may be in the moments that we remember for the rest of our lives. All of us have those moments that we can remember, something from a long, long time ago that we remember with great clarity. This is different from our ability to remember what we had for dinner a few days ago or maybe one day ago. This is something different. That memory, it seems, will always be with us. That sense of liminality can be a gift. Thing is, we may want to rush that liminal part of time. We may not want to live in that place of uncertainty, but in the process, we may miss out on something that is important. It may be that we can see things with new eyes when we are in that liminal space, out of what may be our normal routine. But it may take a little time and maybe some patience to get there. The writer John O'Donohue would point us towards the natural world when it comes to how we find our way through change. The earth and its rhythms might show us how it is we make our way from one place to another place. Just a few days ago, we marked the beginning of the winter with the winter solstice. We had the warm days of summer, followed by months of autumn, and finally winter arriving. In a few months' time, we will be seeing signs of spring. But that change doesn't just happen with a date on the calendar. It comes gradually, day by day. How we go from the warmth of summer to the days of getting cooler, and then the trees go through their process of turning from one color and maybe to another, and then eventually shedding their leaves for the season. And eventually we get to this point in the year. When I look out at my backyard, the first thing it would seem that not much is happening there, not much is growing. But then I look at the camellia bushes there, and right on schedule, there are their buds getting ready to open. I'm always amazed at that, no matter how predictable it is each year. Even as winter formally arrives, signs of spring are to be seen if we would just look. And so it is with our lives, that we too can find signs of turning. O'Donohue reminds us that we find ourselves crossing some new threshold we may not even have anticipated. His words now. Like spring secretly at work within the heart of winter, below the surface of our lives, huge changes are in fermentation. We never suspect a thing. Then, when the grip of some long-enduring winter mentality begins to loosen, we find ourselves vulnerable to a flourish of possibility, and we are suddenly negotiating the challenge of a threshold. At any given moment, we may ask ourselves, at which threshold am I now standing? At this time in my life, what is it that I am leaving? Where am I about to enter? What is preventing me from crossing my next threshold? What gift would enable me to do that? Yes, change can be hard, but we also come to know that change is a part of life. How is it that we can learn to embrace that change? How is it that we can come to embrace the gifts of liminal time, that we will find ourselves in that place the Quakers call just right? All of this can point to a certain paradox in life. The very things we now wish that we could hold onto and keep us safe from change were themselves originally produced by changes. And many of those changes in their day look just as daunting as any in the present do. No matter how solid or comfortable or necessary the status quo feels today, it may have been what was once new and untried and uncomfortable. Change is not only the path ahead, but it is also the path behind us, the one which we traveled along to wherever we are now trying to stay. Now, Bridges will point out that in his experience, it's not necessarily the change that we have a hard time accepting as much as the transition period, finding our way from that one place to the next place. That is where we can feel the most lost sometimes. Transition, he says, is the process of letting go of the way things used to be and then taking hold of the way they subsequently become. Perhaps the resolution we need to make is to allow ourselves the gift of that liminal space, to trust in what is unfolding, that even when we may be finding our way through some terrible loss, that there will be another side, to live with a certain trust that things will come round right. I don't know about you, but I'm I find that I'm particularly glad to see the backside of this year, 2025. It has not been an easy year, an easy time, at least when you look at our nation's life. Cruelty and lies and greed are some of the words that come to mind, some of the things that have dominated. It's especially been a hard year for some of the least vulnerable among us, immigrants, the poor, trans siblings. There's just an atmosphere of meanness that seems to pervade our life together. And with that comes all kinds of feelings. Just some of our assumptions about our country and the values we have been challenged over and over again. Perhaps part of what this liminal time asks of us is what lessons there are to be learned. What is our role in making change? What are those values that we want to have grounding us? How is it that we want to spend our time in this new year? What are the patterns we want to keep? But what are the things we need to change? At any time, you can ask yourself, at which threshold am I now standing? At this time in my life, what is it that I'm leaving? Where am I about to enter? What is preventing me from crossing some new next threshold? In the darkness, the eye learns to see, said the poet Theodore Roethke. Waiting for the future to emerge, of course, is not a solitary endeavor. It's something that each of us does in our lives in all kinds of ways. We have to show up and to pay attention and hope that we can see or hear what it is we need to see, to be open to what will come our way next. And sometimes it does, but it may not necessarily be on our own timeline. Words of the poet Rilke. My eyes already touch the sunny hill, going far ahead of the road I have begun. So we are grasped by what we cannot grasp. It has its inner light, even from a distance, and changes us, even if we do not reach it, into something else, which hardly sensing we already are. A gesture waves us on, answering our own wave, but what we feel is the wind in our faces. It might be that we are being asked to resolve to know where it is our grounding is, to know who we are in a world that is so full of change and so much in need of change. We're asked to resolve to know where those footholds are for each of us, those things that hold us steady. But we might also be asked to resolve to know those things that propel us forward, those things that help us get out of our comfort zone, those things that lead us in the direction of justice, in the direction of love and mercy, those things that help us recognize our interdependence, those things that help us see how everything is related to everything else, most of all to our own lives. Every year, indeed every morning, we are offered an invitation, and every morning we are invited to answer yes to that invitation. May we find ourselves with companions who accept us and love us for just who it is we are, no more, no less. And as we move through the days of our lives, from one threshold to the next, may we know hope and may we know love on the journey. Change is constant. It may be unwanted. It may be a welcome gift. In the midst of it all, may we find ourselves in the desert wondering, may it all be part of the unfolding creation that embraces us and moves through us. As we are changed, so is the world. And as the world changes, so do we. Justice, love, peace, they happen step by step in our lives. They're grounded in the knowing that a greater love will hold us, even at times when we are afraid. And we will, in the end, hopefully, find our way home. Will you join me now in a prayer for this new year? Spirit of life and of love, grant us courage for the journey. Help us to see all of life as a gift, that no matter what this new year brings, we will still know how it is we are connected with all of life, with that love that will never let us go. Hold us, guide us, call us, Spirit, as we do what we can to make love manifest in the world. In all of our days, help us to live fully in the midst of all that changes, all the things that make life abundant and amazing. Through it all, help us to make a space for the stirring of the heart. Help us to listen. Help us to pay attention. Give us hope. Give us patience. Help us to be open to what love calls us to do in our hurting world. Amen. Let us sing together now our closing hymn. All beautiful the march of days. In this new year, may you give yourself to life, and may life offer you gifts you could only have imagined. Remember, this is the day you and I have been given, so let us rejoice in it and be glad. Go in peace. Practice love in this new year, good people. Amen.